folks. Welcome to Classic Rock and Country Music Facts and Trivia. We're going country again today. It's on Johnny Cash. And how Johnny Cash was blackmailed by an El Paso sheriff 20 years after his arrest at the Mexican border. Although he was never sentenced to prison, Johnny Cash had more than a few experiences in a jail cell. Johnny was arrested 7 times in his life, some for things as benign as picking flowers on a private property, and some for violations that were a tad bit worse, though he never filled out a rap sheet quite like Merle Haggard did. His career will forever be tied to the prison system due to his iconic concert at San Quentin and Folsom Prison, one of those shows transforming Merle's life excuse me, and his years of advocacy on behalf of prison reform. But the closest he ever came to spending some real time behind bars happened in October of '65. Cash was in the midst of his nearly lifelong drug addiction and decided to travel down to Mexico to get some discounted pricing on Dexedrine, an upper, and Equanil, a downer. But his guitar case stash was found by customs officers at El Paso International Airport. A total of 1,143 pills were confiscated, and Cash spent one night in El Paso County Jail before posting a $1,000 bond and being released. He later pled guilty to a misdemeanor narcotics charge, was fined $1,000, and given a 30-day suspended sentence. It was really a slap on the wrist considering how strict the justice system was on drugs in the 60s, but the judge factored in that he had a prescription for both while making the judgment. Cash went on living his life. That should have been the end of it, the story, but 20 years later, here we go. In March of '85, El Paso County Sheriff Sergeant Jesus Garolo was sentenced to 5 years supervised probation, 500 community service hours, and $500 fine for threatening to extort money from Cash. How's that? Extorting money from Cash. In a letter dated approximately January 29th of '84, Garolo said he would make Johnny's '65 arrest records public if he didn't contact him to negotiate a cash payment. No specific amount of money was demanded, and he even included lines about admiring Cash because he always fought back, which is an odd way to try and butter him up and open his wallet. Well, as you'd expect, Johnny made no such payment, and Garolo was eventually fired by Sheriff Mike Davis after the records of Johnny's 1965 arrest were found to be missing. He pled guilty to extortion charge, which carried a maximum of 2 years in prison. I can't find any record that he actually served any time. Maybe it's time we start calling Johnny the man in blackmail. Truthfully, can't imagine the thought process that the sergeant used to think Johnny would actually pay him. By '84, it was pretty well known that Johnny used drugs, and I can't see an arrest from 20 years ago making a dent in a career at this point. They do say you only catch the stupid criminals, and this may prove that to be the case. Either way, it's just another great story from the wild life of Johnny Cash. It was very stupid. That's just ignorant, and not too bright of Johnny to go down there and 1,100 pills. I mean, that's craziness. Anyway, Johnny Cash, I was glad later in years he got himself together, and I think June Carter had a lot to do with that. And I'm going to have one next week that's on Johnny Cash's movie Walk the Line, and how his daughters were totally against that movie and why. That should be interesting. So make sure you look for that later. But that's all I got for you today. I hope you guys enjoyed this. Please don't forget about subscribing and liking this video. Please just click that thumb over here. Have a great day, guys. God bless. And I'm praying for you.